Well, everybody, I'm going to do a little basic toilet repair here. The problem with this is the trip lever. There's a piece of plastic that broke, so the lever would just fall down and it wouldn't stay up in its position. So usually when I go into something like this, I'll replace the trip lever and the flapper at the same time just to do it. The ball caulk in this one, which is the piece with the ball up to this valve, on occasion it just sits here and lightly spews. So since I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and change all these at one time. So this is pretty basic R&R stuff, and you know, a lot of this information will carry over to different models of toilets, but this is the one I've got, so this is what I'm going to do. So the first thing you want to do is shut the water supply off, and you should have a valve you can turn off underneath. I'm not going to be able to get a shot of that. So it's turned off. And as far as this water, this is your clean supply, so you don't have to worry about putting your hands in it. You know, no big deal. Next thing you want to do is flush it. I've got my chain unhooked, but just hold the lever up or hold the chain up until most of the water goes out of it. So we'll do that right now. So the majority of the water is gone. I'm going to go ahead and pull the flapper out. There are two ears that stick off this standpipe. You just go in there and just take them off the ears. This one's got some hard water deposits on it, some nasty stuff, but I'm going to go ahead and change this. Throw that out of the way. You can take your trip lever off if you need to replace it. Now keep in mind this is a left-handed thread, so you tighten it to loosen it. So I've already got mine loose, so I'll go ahead and pop this off. And I'm going to have to make a little modification on the new one. This is bent right here. This is not really a side flusher and it's not really a front flusher, it's kind of a mid flusher. So I've got to put this bend in my new trip lever arm. Now you should have a supply line running up to it, up to your valve here. I'm just going to take it off with my hand. I may have to use a wrench, my hands are wet. And the part underneath should be pretty self-explanatory. Really tight where I'm working. There we go. And you may lose just a little bit of water from the supply line and what was left in here. The rest of the water down in the tank, you can either sponge that out. I just take a little cup to do it, but there's a nut right underneath here that I need to get loose. I may need to get a basin wrench. It's really tight in here. There we go. Okay, I've got the nut loose to where I can take it off with my hands. I'm holding down on this to hold the water in and not break that seal until I get the nut off. They're long-winded. Okay, and there's the nut I just took off the bottom. I'm going to take a little container and I'm just going to hold it under here and then break this seal and let this excess water run down into the container. And there we go. And I'll just sit that down on the ground to catch any other drips. You're going to have a little bit of water you need to mop up anyway, but no big deal. And there's the old ball caulk right there. Okay, well these are the new components I'm putting in. This is about $20 worth of stuff. So a new flapper valve. It's got a chain and a hook on it. We'll get into adjusting this here in a minute. Here's the new ball caulk. It's not really a ball caulk, it's just a toilet fill valve. That's what they're calling it. Same principle. These components, and here's the new trip lever. You can see this trip lever is straight. I need to mimic this right here. So just simply get on it with a pair of pliers. I'm just going to put a bend in it. Looks like I need to go a little more. A little bit more. A little bit too much. Okay, that should be good enough. Any adjustments I'll make in the tank. Now this is going to come with a few components. First thing you want to do before you put it in is just stick this hose right here. They're very difficult to put on after you get it in the toilet. So that's that. There's two ways to adjust this. You can spin it and try to adjust your height, and it'll go in and out like so. I don't do that. I just stick it in wherever it's at, and you can pop this ring up, and then you can just pull this to whatever you want and then bring it back down. So it's a lot easier to set your water level in your tank by doing it that way. So that's the way I'm going to do it. We've got a little washer here we need to take off. This we will use, this we will not. We will use this, and this washer is actually 2 in 1, so I need to pull out this piece. These would be to make the supply connection, but I have a braided line, so these are just discarded items. Your washer is going to go on here just like that. I'll stick that down in the tank, position it, put on the nut, hook up the supply, and we'll move forward. Okay, now we're getting ready to go back together with everything. I'm going to start with the flapper valve. Like I said, there's 2 ears hanging off here. You may not be able to see them, but it's just simple. Put the ears through the holes, and there you go. That's all it takes. Quick and easy. And the next thing I'm going to do is install the trip lever. And the trip lever, like I said, I had to bend it, but mind you, these are left-handed threads, so tighten to loosen. Stick it through the hole, bring on the nut, and especially on a round surface like this, where this is actually contacting, you don't want to go too crazy with this nut because you can pop it. So just get it snug. And that's it. Now we're going to talk about adjusting the chain. You don't want a whole lot of slop in your chain, or it won't fire off when you pull it. Meaning when you pull it, you have to hold the lever for it to flush. As you pull it, this thing should become buoyant enough and capture some air to where it stays up, and then as the water leaves, it'll seal it back off. Another problem, if you have it too long, even if you get a flush, the chain can actually go down and get underneath the seal, and it will continue to run. So you just want to get it just right, and you can always change it again. The way I do it is I always start by putting the little hook on first. I let it down, and then I grab the links of chain in my fingers, and I just hold it next to it until I'm satisfied with the link that I have out there. And I believe that's going to be the link right there. You don't cut any links off, any of that business, just put it right on. Just like that. So I've got a little bit of slack in it, but yet it's still going to flush. That's all there is to putting those 2 items in. Now let's go back to the tank valve. Like I said, we already put this in, so once it's down in here, you don't have to try to monkey around and figure that out. So I'm just simply going to hold it in here just as before, but I'm going to position it in a place where nothing can interfere with the rising and lowering of this float. I'm going to reach under and put on the new nut. And I'm doing all this blind, so it may take me a minute. And again, on these, don't go too crazy with them. Just get it. You just want it tight enough to where it doesn't leak. Sorry about the camera there. I'm in a really tight spot. And most of the time, hand tight is good enough on most of this stuff. I'll give just a little bit more on this, if I can even get to it with this wrench. There we go. And while I'm down here, I'm hooking up my supply line again. And on the type I have, it's just going to be hand tight. And I can't show it to you, but it's a little steel braided line, stainless steel braided line with a fitting on the end of it. It's got some ears hanging off. So we'll just put it just like that. We're just about finished. This white clip actually goes down in the hole in the standpipe. Clip it on, push it down. Bring this line around. Try not to kink the line. And that's it. We're ready to fill it up. The reason I do all the other adjustments first is there's no water in the tank, so I'm not getting my hands wet. So I'll turn it on slowly. Help if I did this proper. I put this on there backwards. You want the water to go inside the standpipe. Like that right there. Do that again. So we're getting ready to set the water level. There should be a line marked on your tank somewhere. I can see mine, it's right here. So we'll play with this just a little bit and get it set right. It's going to take a minute to fill up here. And we're getting ready to shut off here. Okay, it's actually almost dead on. I'm about a 1/4 inch away from the line. But you have travel here to set your water level with this. You can turn this and it'll raise and lower that float, as well as what I showed you before where you could pop that ring back and elevate and lower the actual valve itself. But I'm not sure which way I'm going to need to go. So I will try. I believe I need to go down. And to test it, you don't have to let all the water out. Just lightly lift on the flapper and let some water out until it starts filling again. And then check it that way. So it looks like I need to raise the float up. And I think I'm about out of my travel. Try that. So just let a little water out until the valve turns on and starts filling. And that's close enough for me. I'm within an eighth inch of that line. So we're going to go ahead and test a flush here. Notice I didn't have to hold anything up. I'm watching the flapper. Did not contact the chain. Should fill up and shut itself off, no problem. You know, so for some of you folks out there that may be hiring a plumber to come out and do some of these things, you might want to attack it yourself. Save yourself some money, or hire them. It's your call. But you can see how long it took to do this job, and when you add in one-way travel time, 80-90 bucks an hour, if the guy keeps going to his truck because he doesn't carry all these components in, knowing full well what he's coming to do the work on. It used to irritate me when people would do that. The bill can really add up. So at this point on mine, all that's left to do is mop up a little bit of residual water, check it for leaks, put the lid on, and I'm ready to go for another 10 years. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching, guys, and good luck.